Hey there guys, it's Sam bringing you another mechanics video. Today we're going to be talking about shooting. No, you don't need to be an NBA point guard or a druggie to make use of this. I dug through the wiki, so you don't have to. 10 of 10 mechanics agree that shooting is actually not as simple as we would like it to be. Today we're going to be covering leading, shell arc, velocity, and SPG usage, the last one being the lightest, but not the most unimportant. Shell arc. Now, what does shell arc have to do with this girl wearing pink shoes and possibly a Texan Ranger game? Well, we'll see how it plays out. Ooh, okay, not a good look. Let's check that once more. She swings and throws it right into the dirt. Okay, what happened there? Well, clearly, she didn't realize that she was needing to fire an APCR round, not a heat round. Or, actually, in World of Tanks, the game compensates for fake gravity by aiming a little bit higher when you're reticled on an enemy tank. This means when they have that red outline, it's actually tilted up a very little bit. This is why your gun drops fractionally lower when the highlight is lost. You may never notice this when you're playing unless you're trying to highlight on a hill, on the top of a cupola, or on the body of it. When it goes dark, your gun seems to drop down and to shoot the hilltop. This is not good, it's not helpful. This is why the case is, like I said, wargaming compensates for fake gravity. Now, it's possible to shoot this same target from third person by getting a higher view and actually shooting over the top of the hill, relying on the shell's natural arc to hit it on the other side. This is most noticeable with slow HE rounds, Hetzer T40, especially the low tier TDs. In a funny sense, we also see this with Arty, but for the direct fire vehicles, the low tier TDs are most noticeable. I'm sure we've all heard those glory stories of saying, well, the guy was behind a hill and I simply shot over the top. 90% BS, but actually a little bit true. Okay, moving from shell arc to SPGs. This is a short section, but not to be overlooked. Number one, look at the red line there on your screen. You got a beautiful green reticle. The guy is aimed in. He's got some weird aiming circle going on there at the bottom, which is being obstructed. And how do we know that? The red line. Don't forget this. Little side note here, and we'll probably cover it in a future video. It's actually possible to fire and hit a target when the red line's showing obstruction, but for all of us filthy casuals, don't do this. Next, make sure that the reticle is either circled around the enemy tank if possible, or if not, oblong along the body. So if you have shots at two different targets, and on one you can shoot along the length of the tank, and on the other you're hitting it at more of a perpendicular or 90-degree angle on your reticle, shoot the length of the tank, much easier to hit. Don't be afraid to zoom in. When you're zooming in, you have the reticle on them, the center of your aiming circle. You'll find this odd play where it seems to go higher and lower. This is because you're aiming at the side of the tank. And the game client is smart enough to realize when you're aiming at the track or medium level on the side and when you're aiming at the cupola, although unfortunately from the World of Tanks Artillery review, we actually don't have any way of seeing this. Mods do allow it. I don't have any problem with that, nor do I in fact endorse it. And lastly, on the SPGs, look at your gun arc. The higher tier TDs have very, very different arcs. Make sure you know what you're working with. Leading the target. Sort of a basic thing in tanks as a shooter, but a little bit different than the other FPSs on the market is we don't get instant reaction time like they might. Now, what's important about leading? Of course, you want to hit the target. The biggest mistake I make or see others make when we're trying to shoot an enemy vehicle and it goes dark is that we under aim. Somehow as players we've internalized this mentality that we don't want to miss long. We feel better about shooting and having them pass the shell than we do about shooting too far in front of them. I don't know why this is, but I see it all over. What that means when they go dark is that we always under aim by half an inch, quarter of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, and we miss them, unsurprisingly. What I want us all to do here as we move forward is actually move our mouse ahead just a little bit and take the same shot. If you miss, that's okay. If you shoot long, that's okay. You're shooting at a dark target anyway. No one on your team will know. You only know from post-battle. Don't worry about it. But please, please try to break the habit of under-aiming. Every student I've ever worked with has this problem, and most players I play with also do this as well. And it makes them absolutely miss out on free damage and shots because of it. Also, for leading, hit light tanks or other maneuverable vehicles as they're coming in or out of turns. Don't hit them in the middle. Now, someone may ask, well, Sam, why don't you hit them in the middle? Isn't that going to be easiest? Absolutely not. For a light tank, the middle of the turn from our perspective may simply be the outside edge of his next slalom. He goes into the turn, very predictable angle. That's when you want to hit him. He gets to the middle of the turn where his tank has already got a good angle on it. He can very easily whip that back around the other way. This is what happens almost every time lights make a scouting run. They get good vision, and then they do this zigzag back across the field. Very, very hard to hit them if you're guesstimating when the beginning of their middle section is and try to hit them in there. Instead, hit them as they come into a turn or come out of a turn. Good luck on that, by the way. Light tanks are a serious pain. Now, shell velocity. A couple things on the left here we want to deal with first. The grill has the highest shell velocity of anything firing AP in World of Tanks. This is a good thing, but also a little bit annoying if you're against a grill, and I think most of us have been lately. Mediums. High tier mediums, very high velocity. Traditionally, that's good. They need to stretch the battlefield, and they want to try to get the W. Why is a GWE on there? Didn't we already deal with SPGs? Well, yes, we absolutely did. But the GWE has the dubious error of being the slowest HE shell in the game. I believe in the high 400s, the T92 is right up there with it. Or perhaps we should say, down there with it. Boom. Mediums on the right. T22 Med, Object 907, 907A, 62A, 140, 430. What's going on with that? Okay. These are the absolute fastest firing tanks, velocity-wise, in the game. Also, probably DPM-wise, to be honest. They're the king of shell velocity at 1535 meters per second. These shells are absolutely zipping across the battlefield. Now, this doesn't mean that the other tier 10 mediums are all very slow. Most of them are going to be within 100 meters per second, although several of them are, in fact, not, or 200 to 300 meters per second behind. Doesn't make them bad tanks, but keep this in mind when you're either playing these vehicles or playing against them. This is going to make them particularly good at snapshots, and coupled with a vertical stabilizer or a GLD, depending on what's going on with the gun aim time, very, very good at stopping and putting rounds downrange. So, play these tanks, don't play these tanks, that's fine. Play grills, or please don't play grills in my pubs. Such a strong vehicle. Regardless, knowing your shell's velocity is going to help you with everything we talked about earlier with leading targets. It's going to also help you with SPGs as well. Now, hopefully, this shooting mechanics video was helpful. If it was, let me know in the comments, or let me know a video that you'd like to see covered. Unfortunately, most of what Tanks does with these is not as helpful or as friendly looking as our wonderful mechanic here who modeled for our middle photo. But at the end of the day, we're all playing the same game, and I'm here to help you have a good time and to get better just a little bit if possible. Happy tanking, guys, and continue wrecking those pubs.